Hey you all, this is Brian and you are watching the Dark Age channel.
Can you visualize yourself waking up one morning to find that the government has taken over your local Walmart? The once familiar aisles are now lined with empty shelves and signs announcing government property. What would that be like? Welcome to a bizarre twist in your daily shopping routine, where the government plays cashier and the choices on your dinner table aren't exactly yours anymore. This might sound like a scene from a dystopian movie, but it's slowly becoming a reality that's sparking debates from small towns to the halls of Congress. In a world where food deserts are becoming a common term and the gap between the haves and have-nots is ever widening, the idea of the government swooping in to save the day with food control is a hot potato. But is it a recipe for disaster or a much-needed intervention in our food crisis? Get ready to sink your teeth into a juicy discussion about what happens when the government decides to play chef with our food supply. From the politics of produce to the economics of eating, we're about to explore a future where government-approved might just become the most common label in your pantry. What do we do about it? Well, if you think about it, we can do something. Instead of relying on government, run stores, or any system that might have us waiting in line for our next meal, why not take the reins ourselves? My suggestion is pretty straightforward. We grow our own food, or at least as much as we can. It's about turning that backyard or even that tiny balcony into a mini farm. Think aquaponics, fresh greens and fish at your fingertips. It's a push towards being more independent, knowing exactly where your next meal is coming from, and maybe even getting a little healthier along the way. Now I'm not just talking aquaponics for kicks. There's a real sense of urgency here, because if we all sit back and let government-run food stores become the norm, we might find ourselves in a pickle. What the hell are food deserts? All right, let's dive into what food deserts really are. And no, they're not vast stretches of sand with the occasional cactus. In the US and many parts of the world, millions find themselves in these so-called food deserts. But instead of lacking water, they're searching for healthy, affordable food options. Imagine living in a place where the nearest supermarket with fresh produce and healthy food choices is more than just a hop, skip, and a jump away. For residents of food deserts, this is the daily grind. The USDA gets specific here, defining food deserts as areas with a poverty rate of 20% or more, and where a third of the population lives over a mile from a supermarket in urban settings, or 10 miles in rural areas. But it's not just about distance. Food deserts often sprout up in low-income areas, where folks might not have cars. And let's be real, these places are often communities of color. The link between poverty and poor health outcomes is as clear as day. Studies show that Black Americans are nearly 4 times more likely than white Americans to live in areas without a full service supermarket. That's not just a gap, it's a chasm. So, what's on the menu in a food desert? Sadly, it's often a buffet of the worst kind. Fast food joints, liquor stores, and convenience stores. These places are like magnets for processed foods high in sugar, oil, salt, and artificial ingredients, not to mention factory, farmed meat, and dairy. Healthy options? Good luck finding those. The fallout from this is as expected as the plot of a bad movie. Food deserts create a vicious cycle where poor health begets more poverty, which in turn begets worse health. It's like being stuck on a merry-go-round that's anything but merry. Obesity, heart disease, diabetes, these are the frequent flyers in food deserts. Why are there food deserts to begin with? Let's break down why food deserts are popping up like uninvited guests at a backyard barbecue. This isn't just about where stores are planted. It's a deeper, more tangled issue. Think of grocery stores as those cautious animals that only settle where they feel safe. And by safe, I mean profitable. These stores are businesses, after all, chasing the almighty dollar. They look at a neighborhood and ask, "Can we make enough dough here?" If the answer's a no, go. They pack up their avocados and artisan bread and head for greener, richer pastures. This leaves low-income areas, often urban and sometimes rural, high and dry without a decent place to buy fresh, healthy food. There's also another layer to this onion. Many of these food deserts are in neighborhoods that have been dealt a bad hand historically. We're talking about areas often affected by issues like redlining or economic disinvestment. It's like a game of Monopoly where certain players start with fewer properties. These communities have been overlooked by not just grocery chains, but also by broader economic development. No shiny new stores mean no fresh fruits and veggies, which means folks are stuck with whatever's in the corner store, and that's usually not the good stuff. Then there's the transportation tangle. In many food deserts, owning a car is as rare as finding a needle in a haystack. Public transport? Good luck with that. Without a way to travel, even a grocery store that's just a couple of miles away might as well be on the moon. And what's the government doing about all this? Now let's dive into how some city officials are responding to the whole food desert dilemma. Their idea? If you can't beat them, join them by opening government. Run food stores. But hold up. Not everyone's on board with this plan. In fact, it's stirring up quite the debate. Picture the government, not your typical business folks, running your local grocery store. Sounds a wee bit unusual, right? Well, the critics, channeling their inner Ronald Reagan, are saying, hold on a minute. They're not exactly fans of mixing government and business, especially when it comes to something as crucial as our food supply. Reagan was all about keeping the government out of the marketplace, pushing for privatization wherever he could. He believed private businesses do a better job at keeping costs down and efficiency up. Now fast forward to today's situation. Critics of government, run stores are waving a big red flag, warning that this could turn into a rerun of the Soviet Union's failed food system. They're concerned that government-run stores might end up being inefficient, kind of like a car running on three wheels. The biggest worry is that these government stores might not just stumble in efficiency, but also end up costing more for the very people they're supposed to help. The fear is that poor neighborhoods might see higher food prices, which is like fixing a leaky faucet by turning up the water pressure. It doesn't exactly solve the problem. It might just make it worse. Crime rates and defund the police movements. Next, let's chat about something that's been stirring up a lot of talk: the connection between the rise of food deserts and crime rates. It's like a plot twist in a city's story, where decisions on policing intertwine with where you can buy your groceries. Here's the deal. Some cities riding the wave of the defund the police movement have seen a spike in crime rates. Now, whether you're for or against this movement, one thing's for sure: it's having some unexpected ripple effects. Among these is the impact on retailers, especially those in the food business. When crime rates climb, so does the risk for these stores. And let's face it, grocery stores aren't in the business of taking punches. They're there to sell food. This uptick in crime, especially stuff like shoplifting, hits these stores where it hurts: their bottom line. We're talking about financial losses that can make a store manager's head spin. And when the losses pile up, these stores face a tough choice: stick it out or shut down. More often than not, they choose the latter. Why? Because running a store in a high crime area is like trying to swim upstream, exhausting, and more often than not, absolutely not worth it. The kicker is, when these stores shut their doors, it's not just a closed sign in the window, it's the creation of a food desert. Neighborhoods, often already struggling, are left with even fewer options for healthy, affordable food. It's a domino effect. Higher crime leads to store closures, which leads to limited access to good food, which then feeds back into the cycle of poverty and crime. So, what we're seeing is a complex tangle of issues. Crime rates and retail challenges are dancing a tango, and the music they're moving to is creating food deserts in its wake. It's a scenario that's got city folks and policymakers scratching their heads, trying to find the right steps to change the tune. Logistical and bureaucratic nightmare. Running a grocery store isn't just stacking apples and ringing up sales. It's a whole world of complex logistics, from keeping shelves stocked to making sure the lettuce stays crisp and green. Again, think about how Uncle Sam would try to handle all that. The concern here is that a bureaucratic system, known for its red tape and slow pace, could get tangled up in its own shoelaces, trying to keep a grocery store humming. Think about it. Managing a grocery store is like juggling a dozen eggs while riding a unicycle. It's all about timing, efficiency, and responding quickly to what customers need. Can a government system, typically not the speediest, keep up with that kind of demand? I'm seriously doubting it. And then there's the whole competitive bidding process, a standard procedure in government operations. While it's meant to ensure fairness and save taxpayer dollars, it could backfire in a retail setting. If you're waiting for approval from a committee every time you need to restock the bananas or switch up the cereal brands, it would cause delays and inefficiencies, turning a quick grocery run into a bit of a waiting game. Welcome to Communist America. Oh, and there's a bigger picture concern that's got some folks, myself included, raising their eyebrows. This move could be the first step down a slippery slope towards broader government control over our entire food supply. And let's just say, not everyone's thrilled about that prospect. My concern isn't just about who's stocking the shelves or running the cash registers. It's about what this could mean for our food system as a whole. The fear is, if the government starts running grocery stores, what's to stop them from taking over more of the food supply chain? And this isn't just idle worry. History's got a tale to tell here, with the People's Republic of China as the cautionary character. Their government-controlled food system isn't exactly a hit. It is plagued with shortages and inefficiencies, more like a bread line than a buffet. So, the warning bells are ringing. Heading down this path will lead to similar problems. Empty shelves, limited choices, rotten food, and again, the kind of red tape that turns a quick shopping trip into a day-long affair. Just gets me thinking about how much control the government should have over what's on our dinner plates. So the call is to stay alert and keep an eye on what's cooking in the state legislatures and Congress. It's about being proactive, not reactive, to changes in our food systems. Essentially, it's a rallying cry for us to take control of our food, one day at a time.